Okay, so good morning. Today is a very special day, and we have with us Atharva Pagare. Atharva, welcome. I welcome you to the Social Crusaders podcast series. I am Archit Katare, and we have our second host, that is Dwarkesh Adlankar, with us. So, so
Exactly.
we'll start with the first question itself. Uh,
Yeah.
Atharva, how do you
Yeah.
study so much machine learning, data science in such a less amount of time? Because in college we do see that there is a lot of course curriculum going on, and which is very difficult to cope up with. And you being a hostelite, you're always in that loop hole. Uh, Go to college, come to hostel again, wash your own clothes, go for your dinner, your lunch, or breakfast, and then uh, you don't have the chance to keep your health satisfied. And between that, how do you keep your mental health so satisfied that you keep on learning new things?
Yeah. So basically, I wouldn't say 2 years is a short period of time. I think my journey has been along like approximately 2 years. So the main thing that I found helpful basically is going at least one tiny step ahead every day, like doing something even minuscule, something new, minuscule every day. So even if it is 0.001% increase in my knowledge or in my skills, I think every day, if I'm at least doing that, then over a significant period of time, it amounts to a large thing. That is quite like you don't expect it to be so big, but when you do something even very small every day, over like taking into fact concept like compound interest. So like this knowledge increases compound, like in fashion of compound interest, it increases a lot in a large period of time.
ड्यूरिंग द कोर्स ऑफ टाइम ऐसा कभी तो लगा होगा ना कि अभी कैसे अगर हॉस्टल में एक तो बंदा रहेगा जिसको आईटी सेक्टर में, नहीं तो एमएल और एआई में इंटरेस्ट होगा, तो कोई अपने कॉलेज में से कोई था ही नहीं, पूरे हॉस्टल में कोई नहीं था जिसको मशीन लर्निंग तेरे जितना डीप में मालूम हो. बट देर इज नो सोर्स ऑफ हेल्प अराउंड यू. जो भी था सब ऑनलाइन फोरम्स पे था,
गाइडेंस
ऑनलाइन
भी
फ्रेंड्स
मिलता
थे.
है इससे, कोई सीनियर वगैरह भी
Yeah.
ये नहीं
हाँ,
है।
सीनियर वगैरह भी नहीं, तो फिर वो केसेस में क्या कर सकते हैं?
Yeah, like see, that is difficult, I'll admit it, कि अगर कोई आसपास नहीं हो, like someone, if you're doing something very different from what others are doing around you, so it is difficult to it is difficult because you don't have anybody else to guide you. So what I did is entirely was dependent on online resources, and I listened to a lot of people online. I read a lot of people who are into the field online. So I took their advice, and I basically I took a long time because I did not have anyone to guide me. So the one thing that I think I had a disadvantage is I was not in a computer science field. I did not have teachers in this field, or nor did I have my friends. My friends were they were very good in electrical engineering, core electrical engineering, and so like I did not have even have very large number of people who I knew who were into this field. I knew a few people personally who were in this, so I took advice and guidance from these people, and mostly online. Like online, I think people underestimate the power of finding advices online. Yeah, they're like unreliable, but if you get a good advice from a reliable source or a verified source, I think it is very helpful. And people usually underrate this kind of thing because they are hesitant to take advice from someone who they don't know. But it's helpful. I think I found it helpful. The resources that I found posted by people online were also amazing. And yeah.
That's truly inspirational, because what I think is, अगर मैं एक हॉस्टल पे रहता हूँ और everybody around me is not the way I am, so people will not perceive
स्टैंड
me.
आउट करना बहुत मुश्किल होता है।
हाँ, तब लोग नहीं समझ के लेते कि ये बंदा रूम में बैठ के क्या कर रहा है अकेला, लैपटॉप में बैठ के क्या सीखने वाला है इतना. फॉर द फर्स्ट सिक्स months or let's say 1 year, you're like completely blank yourself where you are heading towards, and you have almost isolated.
Exactly.
क्योंकि how difficult is it to explain it to others, your friends or let's say your family, कि मेरे को ये करना है कि and whatever field I am in, I'm not interested in that. How difficult is it?
Yeah, so like you said, I like the one point that you said is जो first year मैंने जो कुछ किया, it was like aimless. I didn't know what I was doing, like what जो दिख रहा था वो मैं कर रहा था, like that was the case. So I had no direction. I was just doing anything that was in front of me, and I think if someone would have guided me, maybe I would have done. I would have learned faster. I would have had a good direction in which to go about. But ठीक है, you don't get everything in life, and I actually had a liking because whenever I saw like YouTube videos or a blog post about this topic, I always felt excited. Like this is the thing in the future, and I should have at least a basic entry level knowledge about this field. So that excitement and that curiosity basically helped me gain a lot of knowledge. Like I didn't need any external motivation to do things. So my excitement and was enough for me. Yeah. So after that, when I came in like fourth year, I came to know a lot of things, a lot more things. And then before that, I had come up with my own study plan according to my convenience and my level of understanding and my capabilities. So according to that, I reached a level where I was able to demonstrate my knowledge in front of people. Like I was able to demonstrate them what I know, and I was able to teach simple concepts, machine learning and AI concepts to people. To reach that level, I made a lot of mistakes. It was a lot of trial and error because there was no rigorous college course. I had to like make up my own curriculum and study. So it was a bit difficult, but then I got a hang of it, and also it involved a lot of self learning because reading on your own and understanding on your own. Like I had no one to ask doubts. I had no one to tell me where I was doing wrong. I just went on online forums and found the solutions myself. uh, Basically my family was very supportive in what I was doing. They didn't tell me what to do and what not to do. So there was no problem in that case. I told them, even when I told them that I don't want to pursue a master's in electrical engineering, or I don't want to go for a core job, so they didn't hesitate one bit. Like they were with me, so no problem. And Even when placement started in fourth year, I did not sit for a single core company.
Yes.
And yeah, so people started asking whether you are sitting for placements or not. All people, like like majority of my classmates started asking me whether you are sitting for placements or not, because initially only core companies were coming to our college, right? So yeah, but I had my aim in mind. Like I wanted to something, I didn't want to deviate from that plan. And yeah, so hopefully, like after I got the job, then people understood, hopefully, what I wanted to do.
After you got
वो
the
एक बहुत
job,
इम्पोर्टेंट हो सकता है.
वो बहुत ज्यादा फैल गया, मतलब पूरा ही फैल गया. एक पहले प्लेसमेंट में बैठा और उधर ही प्लेस हो गया. आई रिमेम्बर द वे
हाँ.
ही gave द एग्जाम फॉर हिज कंपनी. वो कंपनी कॉलेज में आया था और सबका प्लेसमेंट चालू था. ओके, सब लोग आए थे, सब फॉर्मल क्लोथ्स में वगैरह आए थे, एंड ही केम इन नॉर्मल क्लोथ्स. आई रिमेम्बर ही केम इन नॉर्मल क्लोथ्स, वंडरिंग हियर एंड देयर, टेकिंग केयर ऑफ ऑल द पीपल. और फिर क्या हुआ, 15 minutes after this after the aptitude test had started, he sat for the exam. He was telling me, Archit, why don't I just try? Let's see क्या होता है. I'll just write the exam. मैं देखता क्या होता है. He sat for the exam. और फिर मैं बोला, okay, I'll handle everything because I was already placed. और मेरे को ऐसा कुछ था नहीं. I was roaming here and there. He gave the exam. He got selected. The next day they had interviews. I got selected there also. I was completely blank. You just said that
Yeah,
for a year you were blank and you were not knowing where you were heading towards. In the fourth year, you
yeah.
came to know that some of the concepts you were able to make others understand. So that means your
Exactly.
conceptual clarity was great. और इसके लिए तेरे
Yeah,
को
it was decent.
खुद के नॉलेज पे बहुत ट्रस्ट था कि ओके, इफ इवन इफ आई डोंट गेट अ
Mm,
जॉब फ्रॉम द कैंपस, आई विल गेट ऑफ कैंपस. इतना
mm.
इतना लेवल ऑफ कॉन्फिडेंस कैसे निकाला?
See, I think confidence is a function of your knowledge. I think I stand by that statement. If you have a lot of knowledge in any field, not even a lot, even if you have above average knowledge in any field, you will be able to confidently have a conversation regarding that topic. Yeah. So confidence जो होता है वो, like if you don't know a particular topic, you'll definitely feel nervous speaking to someone who has a basic idea of it, because you know that if you go wrong, the other person will catch you on that.
Catch you.
So uh, yeah, so I think that the confidence, or you talked about confidence, is that because after making a lot of mistakes, I knew that I knew where I was going wrong, and I knew where others can go wrong. So if someone comes to me for an advice, I can give him a particular advice which I can give him confidently, because I have made mistakes. I know that I went wrong in that direction. So like from mistake, I think mistakes are the best way to learn something. So when you learn a lot, you can confidently speak about anything, and you don't like fear about whether I'll go wrong or not in that scenario.
Everyone is talking about these technologies nowadays ना ये artificial intelligence, ये deep learning, ये natural language processing, ये क्या क्या रहता है, neural networks, deep neural networks,
हाँ,
क्या है ये सब? बताओ ना, हम लोग को बताओ क्या सीन क्या है ये सब, क्या है इतना
yeah.
फर्स्ट क्या है इसमें?
Yeah, so basically, to start, these technologies or these words have been in existence for a lot of years. You have to understand that the field of artificial intelligence, machine learning, these fields have been in existence since 20th century. They are not new. The one thing that is different today in today's world is two things basically. The first thing is availability of large amounts of data. So basically, I'll give you an example. Like you take any popular website, a worldwide website like Amazon or Netflix. So these websites today are storing ginormous amounts of data. Like it's unimaginable. They have so many data centers around the world. They have so much data set, and basically what scientists and what officials at these companies thought is that why don't we use such huge amounts of data to gather some insights. Like we want to grow our business, we want our businesses to go to next level, and there is all definitely competition at a large level because everyone wants to be number one. And This prompted a lot of development in this field, and many intelligent people around the world, with master's degree and phds, started working with these companies to create amazing like models to get good insights and good predictions. For example, they got good recommendation engines. If you go to Netflix, you will see that the recommended shows that or movies that you get on the homepage are definitely are the ones which have high probability that you will watch, and their models are quite successful in that regard. Or you go to Amazon, you get recommended products which you will buy. They know that you will buy, and even you know that the products which I see on the homepage, I like them. So we take these things for granted, but a lot of innovation has gone into making these things happen. So this is a revolution basically in the making. And the second thing that I talked about is availability of good hardware architecture, right? So basically, to run these algorithms, these machine learning and deep learning algorithms, you need a good hardware setup, because these algorithms require a lot of mathematical operations, right? Matrix multiplication and matrix transpose and all those things. And these are huge matrices, like 100 by 100, and they are n-dimensional. So they are not two-dimensional; they are n-dimensional matrices. So to perform mathematical operations on this, you need a hardware device which will compute, which will give out the computation in milliseconds or nanoseconds. It's that you need that efficiency, right? So in 21st century, you have companies like Nvidia, which are doing amazing work, and they are putting out amazing hardware. And also I think this field has got a lot of help from gaming industry, because these high-end games that you see,
NVIDIA,
they also require a lot of good hardware architecture, right? So
Yeah.
these hardware architectures are also implemented in executing machine learning algorithms. So they have benefited a lot. So these two factors, I think, has created a lot of hype around these words, although they have been existent since a lot of years. Like even Dwarkesh and I had a course on artificial intelligence in sixth semester. So the writer of that book wrote that book in 1950s. So
Wow.
it was like all these algorithms were prevalent since a long time, but now they are coming into focus because of these two factors. The one is availability of large amount of data, and second is availability of good hardware architecture. So that's why you always hear this words, because every company is leveraging these technologies to grow themselves. Every company is using that. We are using AI and deep learning, and they are getting a lot of investors just based on this fact. And hence there is a kind of a hype surrounding this word. And yeah, and this has also been reflected. A lot of companies, Google, Facebook, have been open sourcing their deep learning and machine learning products online, so that they get people excited about this technology. So it's all in all a very good environment around these technologies.
Okay. But if I ask you a question, that a person who is not acquainted with all these facts and about the technology, and he or she is just start to know the basic concepts of what machine learning and AI is, how do they start? Should they go on Coursera and do a course, or should they go online and search for some free uh, source that is available, or ask some advice to get some advice from people like you? How should they start?
Yeah, so anything of that, what you mentioned, any of those factor works basically. Uh, it depends on the person. Like, if you are good at mathematics, you can dive into complex algorithms straight away. Because a lot of these technologies, or if you want to pursue something in this field, it all depends on mathematics. Majority of it depends on it. So, if you are good at mathematics, you will instantly gain that intuition to know what is going on, right? Because unlike software engineering, this is programming plus mathematics, right? And plus domain knowledge. If you want to do a job, you also need a domain knowledge in which you are working. So so even if you are good at one, like you can gather expertise in the other two. Like domain knowledge is for a later part. Like if you want to build a career, then you can go for that. But programming and mathematics, these two are the biggest factors. So like if you feel that you are weak in programming, maybe you can take up a course. Or if you feel that you are weak in mathematics, maybe you can take up a course in one mathematics. And basically for me, I was not very well acquainted with programming when I didn't know Python. I had to learn Python from scratch. And while doing this, even my proficiency on Python also like increased. So doing things, basically doing stuff like helps you gain more knowledge rather than just go doing this course or watching those videos. Just doing stuff will like enable one to learn a lot basically.
So basically,
So
doing
like
something
applying it in
that is
project.
project based.
Ah,
Yeah, project based. Or even if you do even small projects, you will learn a lot rather than reading. Even just you write of just writing lines of code that will like tell you where you are lacking or where you are making mistakes. And that
what
is very
you want
underrated.
and what you want to see.
Exactly. Exactly.
So how did you start? If I ask you a question, that how did you start?
Yeah, so basically, when in early in second year, I saw keynote of Sundar Pichai, who's CEO of Google, and he was talking at IIT Kharagpur, his alumnus,
Yes,
his
we all remember that
alma mater.
video.
Ayo, na? Ayo.
Yeah, 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 his alma mater. He was there, and he was speaking. All the students were around him, and he was
Yes.
speaking about how Google is changing the world. And it is a really very good talk. I like recommend each and everyone who is watching this to go and watch that video. It's amazing. That guy is simply exceptional. And there I first heard the word machine learning in that keynote, basically, and I understood what it was. And I was fascinated that the things that they're doing at that time. Like it was early 2018, I guess, or late 2017, I don't remember. But so during that time, he told that Google is leveraging all these technologies to make autofill functionality in Google search, and also removing spams in Gmail. So I was fascinated. Like this seems like a very interesting technology. And at that time, not a lot. There was not such a good hype about these types of things. Like
Yes.
the AI and ML and deep learning weren't buzzwords. They were just like new technology during that time. So yeah, so I after that I just searched machine learning. What is it? I read Wikipedia article and I got interested. So after that I started reading blog posts. I read a lot of blog posts regarding this, like various concepts, various algorithms. I read a blog post about. Majority of my learning came from reading blogs on Medium. So maybe someone will benefit from watching videos. Like it depends on each person. For me, I watched YouTube videos and I read more blogs. Like I read a lot of blogs on each type of algorithm. I first searched blog, like what is the mathematics behind it, how is the implementation. Then I saw sample code, so these kinds of things. So after that, yeah, then I started doing small projects, like very basic. And at first I had to like adapt to the Python programming language. I knew very basic of that, like if else and those kind of things.
Yes.
So I have to like improve my Python skills. I had to know various packages in Python. So that was that was more straightforward. But learning the mathematics behind it was a more challenge for me. So after that, I started with data pre-processing. So basically, in any machine learning pipeline, you have first data pre-processing and then modeling. So data pre-processing is gathering data, then cleaning the data, then uh, normalizing the data so that you get a good distribution for modeling. So these kind of things, I like learned these kind of things first, and after that I went to modeling. So in model, that is the more interesting part. That is what is attractive about the field, is that you have amazing models which can give accurate predictions based on the data that you pass through them. So after that, I participated in an online like contest sort of. It wasn't for money, like it was just for new entry level those who want to go into the field. That's a challenge. It's called Titanic Challenge. It's very popular. Like you can find it anywhere. So it is on a site called Kaggle. So it's like a competitive programming platform for data scientists. So when I entered, I did not. So there after that, after you code, you get ranking. Like what kind of accuracy you achieve, you are ranked based on that. So entered the competition because it was for beginners, and then I improved upon it a lot. And so based on my accuracy, my rank was like in the top 13%, I guess, during that time. And there were around 15,000 participants. So I was like confident कि ठीक है कुछ तो आता है. So after that, I started reading more. I read many like mathematical textbooks after that. Not completely, but some parts which I found that I was lacking knowledge of. So that after then I did more projects, and some bigger projects than that. Like my own projects, like no one was like, I wasn't competing or anything, just for my knowledge. I was doing projects, and I was doing projects basically in the areas that I thought I was lacking knowledge of, and I was learning things while doing them. So that helped me a lot. Then I applied for internship, and during internship also I learned a lot. And even my BTech project was based on that, on computer vision. So yeah, all in all, like I did things and I learned on that. That's what I will say about this.
So basically, you got your point from where to start, and then you did not stop there. You just went on going, even if the path was not clear.
Yeah,
So, Dwarkesh,
exactly.
can we ask him about what his BTech project was all about?
हाँ, अरे इनफैक्ट हम लोग दोनों का बीटेक प्रोजेक्ट सेम ही था.
So,
हम लोग दोनों
can you
एक ही
both please make us understand what your BTech project was and how was it linked with machine learning?
बोला था.
I think I'll let Dwarke start on this.
अच्छा, so what we attempted in our BTech project was we take a photo of an object, like in really simple terms, like 10-year-old terms. We'll take a photo of this bottle, let's say, एक photo लेंगे, and we'll train a program, a computer program, जो इसका 3D output देगा. वो image जो होगा वो 2D होगा ना. So it will take that 2D input and convert it into a 3D output. That's like going from Mario, Super Mario to Assassin's Creed, ऐसे, उस level. So what this will eventually lead us to is you just shoot a video like ऐसे सीधा सीधा जाने के लिए and automatically 3D चीजें बनती जाए. So all that rendering and that work, your time is saved. That program the one we built was trained to do this thing. It was given bottle के photos and bottle का 3D model. माउस का फोटो माउस का 3D मॉडल, फोन का फोटो फोन का 3D मॉडल, सब लाइक ऐसे टेल्स देके वो प्रोग्राम फिर सीखते हैं. इट लर्न्स कि एक्चुअली क्या होता है, इसको क्या चाहिए. You tell him this is the question, you tell him this is the answer.
Like Archit, you are a mechanical engineer now, so you know that to create 3D models, basically we have to use programs like AutoCAD or CATIA, right?
CATIA.
Yeah. So what we wanted to do basically was, so this process is quite complicated, right? So if you want to create 3D models, it takes a lot of time, it takes a lot of efforts. What we wanted, the aim of the project was to create a program which is a general purpose program. When we give a two-dimensional object, we will get a three-dimensional like representation. Two-dimensional image will get a three-dimensional representation of that thing, right?
Okay.
Without doing any kind of manual work, we automated this whole task. That was the aim of our project, basically, in simple terms.
While we are designing that 2D model into 3D on CATIA, we have to give many dimensions to it. We have to give curved edges or give fillet to it, and there are many more
Exactly.
complications involved. That how did you achieve doing it? Because if we take a complex model and we start building it on CATIA, it will take almost an hour or two to make the model. And how did you achieve it on machine learning? How did you try doing that?
Yeah, so see, the our focus was not to create objects on scale. Like our objective was not to like get dimensions and create the exact
Okay.
dimensions and create object based on those dimensions, right? Our object was, so see, for example, if you have any kind of machinery, right, and if there is some kind of fault, like a physical fault, like if there is a crack or something like that, a physical deformity. So what we wanted to do by using this, instead of finding faults manually, what we'll do is we'll create a three-dimensional model and find the faults through that. The main objective is to find any kind of deformity in that object and not to reconstruct on the exact scale. That was our main objective, right?
Okay.
So we didn't care much about the dimensionality because we that was not our objective. We didn't set out to create objects on scale, like with exact measurements and all that. We didn't care about that. But we did care that if we pass a photo, for example, of a machine which is which is not working, which is and so has some sort of physical deformity, and if you want to analyze that, so basically we can pass in through the image, and we'll get a visual graphical representation of three-dimensional reconstruction of this object in the image,
Okay.
and then we can analyze it and then come to certain conclusion that where the deformity is, what can be the reason and all that. Instead of employing someone to do a three-dimensional model and then do analysis, we try to automate this task. That was our aim. A lot of resources, a lot of people are making a lot of contributions, so you can get any kind of help. Even ready-made packages are available today, so it's not the case that you have to build everything from scratch. It's not the case like that. If someone comes from a background which is not in the field of software programming or software engineering, so basically these kind of people, they know everything but they can't code. That's their problem. They don't know any programming. So what they, even for these people, there are packages available, like drag and drop features available, so through that they can create their own applications. So it's not the case that you need to do everything from scratch. There are starter codes available, there are starter packages available that will guide you along the way,
Okay.
right? So that you don't get discouraged. Like if someone wants to do this, they don't have to create everything from scratch. They don't have to code every line and create thousands of line to create a simple code thousands of line to create a simple thing. They don't have to do that, because in this approach, it's very the probability is very high that you get discouraged from doing anything,
Okay.
because it's a slow process in this way. Like you don't see any results for the first 1 month, and then obviously you will think about quitting because you're not seeing anything. But the contributors around the world, if you go to GitHub, a lot of contributions are made, so that beginners get a lot of exposure, and they start with the projects, and they find results immediately. They don't get stuck in some place, and as a result, this through this they will learn a lot. They will create more and they'll learn a lot. So even during our projects, we did use a lot of Python packages where we didn't had to code a lot. We knew all the concepts. We also coded, but we were not computer engineers, right? So there were certain roadblocks for us. So to solve that, we did use some Python packages which made some things easy for us. But at the end of the day, during presentations, we had to know entire working. We had to explain everything to them, and so we had to know what we were doing. Basically, it wasn't like blindly taking something and then replicating it. We knew what we were doing, and we tuned our results based on these packages. Exactly.
देखो अथर्व, ये पर्सनली मैं भी मतलब ऐसे ये थॉट हमेशा एंटरटेन करता था कि फर्स्ट ईयर के बाद ब्रांच चेंज कर सकते हैं क्या, कंप्यूटर साइंस में जा सकते हैं। तो तुमको ऐसा कभी लगा क्या कि मतलब कंप्यूटर साइंस से मतलब ऐसे ऐसे शिफ्ट हो सकते हैं इलेक्ट्रिकल इंजीनियरिंग?
I thought that the curriculum that we had in electrical engineering was very flexible. I did not have any problem कि बहुत rigid है या ये field के बाहर का कुछ सिखा रहे नहीं है. That wasn't the case. We had so many courses which weren't related at all to electrical engineering, and those were the courses that I enjoyed the most, basically. Yeah. Even project management, it was a very good course. And basically I have the belief that all these segregations that we make, like electrical engineering, mechanical engineering, computer engineering, all these segregations that we make are only for administrative purposes. That's what I think. Like if you want to learn something, you shouldn't be bound by what you are majoring in or what your degree is. Like if you are a mechanical engineer today and if you want to learn software engineering, that shouldn't stop you just because you have a tag that I'm pursuing mechanical engineering and I'm dreaming of becoming a software engineer. That shouldn't like be a roadblock in your dream. That's what I think and I believe. So yeah, like I think college is the place where you find and explore and find your interests, and they don't necessarily have to align with what you are doing your bachelor's in. I think a lot of people like fall into the trap that just because I'm doing electrical and just because I'm doing mechanical engineering or just because I'm doing something, I can't do this. Just because I'm doing mechanical engineering, I can't. I have to do like I have to prepare for gate. I have to give gate and I have to do MTech and I have to take up a job in core sector. That is I think that mentality is like killing a lot of dreams, and that is very counterproductive to the like whole scenario, whole education scenario basically. So I did think that maybe if I was in computer engineering, maybe I that would have been more helpful, but I did not regret as such. Because the our college also gave amazing facilities to us to learn new things. Like even now they are giving away so many licenses and all to learn things. And also our college, I think at least I can speak for electrical engineering. I don't know about mechanical, but electrical engineering had very flexible timings. Now in fourth year and even in third year, where like we had a lot of time to study on our own, whatever we want, like after college hours. And during these hours, one can like do anything what one wants, right? If a person is really into video editing or making podcasts like you guys, they can start right from the college.
So, Azhar, tell us more about your internship at Lumino. क्या काम रहता था वहाँ पर?
So basically, I interned during our sixth semester, right? Like it wasn't during holidays. I was like doing the internship while our semester was going on. So uh, I felt the need to do an internship because everything that I did on my own. Like I did not have a kind of environment to know what was going on in the real world. How is this thing applied? And like how do things work in industry? So I had no knowledge about that at all. So what I decided was to like do an internship so that I can gather some experience regarding this and get some knowledge, and even question whether after seeing a profession, like after seeing it as a profession, whether I want to pursue it in the future or not, or whether just to pursue it as a hobby. Basically because unless you and until you go in an industry, you don't know the kind of work that goes on. You don't know kind of work ethic that you need to have, and like the quality of work that you will get, right? So I started a posting online. Like I started applying for jobs online, completely online. I did not go to any kind of like I did not get it through like offline medium. I went to a portal, I logged in, I filled in my details, I put in my resume, and I applied to more than 200 places. Yeah. And I got like I got response only by 3, because I wasn't from computer engineering background. And I like because many places had the requisite that you know a lot of like
Data structure.
web technology. Like you know a lot of, yeah. I only had knowledge of SQL at that time. I did not know a lot about like MongoDB and all those things. And they also had requirements of knowing PHP and a lot of JavaScript and everything.
Database
So
management
I
मिला
was
है?
not proficient in that. And yeah. So there were like majority of the companies who were offering positions as an intern had this prerequisite that you need to know this. So I got definitely got rejected from these kind of things, because my focus was only in Python and machine learning basically at that time. So what they expected is that a person who is applying here is a computer engineering student who has done all these things in the past 3 years. Because the computer engineering undergrads have like a curriculum which is in correspondence with these technologies. They also do projects in web development. So I got only 3 callbacks, and after applying to more than around 200, I definitely applied to around 200 places, like small companies and startups, not large companies. So after I applied, I had an interview. I got the like internship, and the work was like it was a startup basically. So they were just starting out a company, and what they wanted to do is build a platform which will educate the people and also provide services. So you have many platforms like this, like they promote themselves by creating educational content, and they were also service providers. They undertook some data science projects, and they did consulting job also. So my job was to basically create models and come up with results so that they can showcase that through their educational platform, right? So I created a lot of models during that time. So an example that I can give is basically creating a time series prediction, and I got to learn a lot. I interned for about 2.5 months, and I think the only problem I faced was I didn't go to any office as such. I used to meet these people after a week or after 2 at weekends, and like I used to update them कि मैं क्या काम कर रहा हूँ. And yeah, so the disadvantage that I had was I did not go to an office and sit down. I did everything from home. It was work from home internship basically what I had. And yeah, so I did a lot of I went through a lot of research papers, and I recreated some models for them. So they used to tell me to go through this research paper and do like see what you can do about it, and I used to come up with that. So I did that internship for around 2.5 months. I had a like 15 to 20 days break in between, but after that, the overall my internship was for 2.5 months of working. I used to do like 10 to 15 hours work per week. It wasn't much, but like I got to learn a lot. Because it was like part-time thing. No, it wasn't a full-time internship where I had to go to office at 9 and come at 5. I was doing it alongside college, and even during exams I had to work sometimes. So it was a good experience. I got to learn a lot, and I'd definitely recommend anyone who is like curious to go for internship early as possible. Don't go like don't wait for 6 semesters to do one, because if I had applied at in vacations, I would have learned even more. I did it during sixth semester when the college was going on. So I think that you there are problems in the beginning that you don't know. You have no one to guide you. You have to do everything on your own. So वो थोड़ा problem रहता है. इसलिए if you want to apply, do it in the vacations. That's what I'll suggest. Don't do it during colleges.
We all remember that these Mumbai University students, they go for coaching right from the first semester till the 8th semester. They have the normal college also, and they go for coaching also.
स्टैंडर्ड है वहाँ पर, ऐसे स्टैंडर्ड है एमयूके ऐसे
Yes.
बड़े बड़े क्लास सेटअप हो गए हैं दादर
This, I remember one part where I went after 12th standard when I got a good score and I knew I would get into Vijay or SPC. I went for a coaching, so I thought I'll just get mathematics के लिए तो coaching लगाओ. And the professor was 4 साल का ये वनवास है. वनवास जा रहे तुम लोग को सब त्याग देना है, कुछ नहीं करना. And I was like, mad what? I thought I'll take engineering and into an autonomous
तो 2
college.
साल पेस में किया अपन ने उसके बाद तू बोल रहा है चल
या 12th स्टैंडर्ड तक हाँ इतना घिसा और तुम बोल रहे अभी वनवास में जाने का 4 साल. And that word just triggered my mind. What the hell are you talking about? And when I see you speaking right now that college was flexible and I did what I liked and the internship for 3 or 2.5 months was during the college hours, it's not like that. It's not like that. It's a stereotype that a mechanical or electrical engineer can never do this, or let's say for a civil engineer also that they
Exactly.
cannot indulge into other uh, good activities like machine learning and AI, of course, during the
Yeah.
course period.
So Mumbai University and Pune University, I have friends over there. So these people don't have the kind of flexibility that we have, right? Ours is an autonomous college, so we have a flexible timetable. We also have a flexible like schedule. कि 3 बजे के बाद या 4 बजे के बाद कॉलेज नहीं होगा. सब
Yes.
निकल जाते हैं, टीचर से निकल जाते हैं, तो स्टूडेंट्स क्यों रहेंगे कॉलेज में? So after that, like we have a lot of time, right? So look, I feel that I had the biggest advantage that I had was like our college, right? मतलब जो रिसोर्सेज भी मिले, जो नेटलैब में जो कंप्यूटर्स थे उस पर भी बहुत मतलब दैट वर आल्सो वेरी हेल्पफुल. द्वारकेश नोज लाइक वी यूज्ड टू सिट देयर, बोथ ऑफ अस यूज्ड टू सिट देयर अ लॉट, एंड
उन्होंने
वी डिड
मतलब
सो मच
कॉलेज
वर्क
इतना
देयर.
हेल्पफुल था
एंड
ना कि हमको एक एक कंप्यूटर मुझे एक एक कंप्यूटर ऐसे दे दिया था कि इस पे तुम अपना लॉगिन आईडी और पासवर्ड डालो और वापरो, तुमको सीखना है ना तुम सीखो. कॉलेज ने जितना हेल्प किया ना यार, मतलब अलग लेवल है वो जो पूरा आईटी डिपार्टमेंट.
even yeah, even one more thing that helped me was that 24-hour library thing. that I used to go in the third year. I went almost every day over there because मेरा उधर मन लगता था for to study or to do anything. And because in my hostel room I did not feel like studying at all, so I went to a library. Unto that library, I went almost every day over there.
अभी ऐसा
Yeah,
term भी आ
yeah,
रहा है, data is the new oil. So I had a conversation with one of my friends from IIM Indore, and he told me that he is
okay,
going to study more about marketing analytics and digital marketing. And even I, from the very beginning, I was
okay.
inclined towards marketing a lot because I loved that field. Now, how will you मतलब how would you
Hmm.
recommend us कि अगर market analytics में जाना है? Because you see there are so many fields like market analytics है, business analytics है, and there are many non-core
Hmm.
companies who want their employees to know a lot about data science. तो अभी अगर हम लोग को start करना होगा, तो what are the buzzwords or the keywords that you will tell us that we should know and we should start learning about them?
Just because these technologies are hyping right now doesn't mean that they are the like everything. Marketing as a field is very vast on its own, right?
Yes.
So not just what I would recommend is not just focusing where a data science applies in this field, and just focusing on like how should I study and what should I study so that I can make a positive impact on the society. I think that is more important. Yes, these technologies, data science and machine learning, and availability of large amounts of data has definitely enabled that, but that doesn't mean that you solely focus on that, right? If you're interested in marketing analytics, it's such an amazing field today, and it is genuinely bringing a lot of change in society, especially during this pandemic. So many companies are employing so amazing marketing strategies even this during this period, so to revive their companies. So they don't necessarily use this technology, but if you are interested, you can like see where the applications are. If you are interested, suppose you can take up a case study, like where was this applied. For example, in marketing analytics, they must be using a lot of trends, right? They select they rank things, and they see the trends, where the trends today are, and they come up with recommendation engines. So suppose if it is an e-commerce site, right? So they come up with the recommendation engines that will optimize the performance, they optimize their sales. And suppose it is an advertising agency, they will come up with they will utilize machine learning or data science to gather the data, and collect information like where to place advertisement, to which social media websites to promote their products, or to which users on these websites to promote their products as an advertisement. So all these things are come under marketing, right? Because your what you said was marketing analytics is the parent field, and these are just technologies that you are implementing to optimize your results, right? So you if you want to go into a marketing firm, and if you have even basic level data skills, I'm not even saying data science, you have data skills, Excel, MySQL, basic Python, data manipulation, basic data manipulation using Python. Even if you have those skills, and in addition to these skills, you have a ability to tell a story to these employees. Like if you're doing a data science, a very complicated data project, and if you want to like engage with these higher officials who don't know the technical terms, if you're able to do that efficiently, if you can tell a story, then that is the best skill according to me that you can have going into marketing. Because marketing background does not have a prerequisite of having programming knowledge and knowing all the machine learning terminologies and all that. So using visualization and using graphs, you need to tell what is happening, where can we improve, how can we improve. So data storytelling is a very important part of pipeline of an entire data science project. It starts from gathering data, then you have cleaning data, pre-processing data, then you have modeling, then you have visualization, you have results, and then you have data storytelling. So what this last step means is basically you get certain results from, see, the aim of any data science project is to gather insights, right? Why is my product failing? What should I do to increase my sales or my revenue? What should I do? So when you reach the end of the project, you should be able to convey these results without a lot of technical jargon, so that the person in front of you understands what you are speaking, because he's a sales guy, he's a marketing guy. He won't understand which algorithm you have used, but he will understand what you did and what insights you gathered, and he will understand when you have the skill to tell it efficiently. So that is one skill that you can focus if you want to go into marketing. That's what I would recommend.
If I ask
Yeah, yeah,
you
yeah.
that, let's say you're starting right now, let's say tomorrow you want to make a blog to help others. What are the first 3 or 4 concepts that you will put on that blog? So that even I know today that what are the concepts that one should learn at the very beginning, which are easy to grasp. What are the 3 to 4 concepts that you'll put on the very first day?
In context of what?
Machine learning,
Like,
machine learning, data
yeah,
science, the
okay.
field you are in right now.
So yeah. So the first and foremost thing I'll recommend to anyone, regardless if they want to pursue it in a career or not, is learning basic programming using Python. Everyone should know that. Like each and everyone, not just engineers also. I'm speaking like non-technical people, sales people, anyone. They should know basic programming, and it is advisable to start in Python because it's a very easy language to learn, right? So programming skills, you need to have a beginners like proficiency to start, right? The next thing is to be very proficient in calculus, especially differential calculus and linear algebra, because you will execute things on the by programming. But if you want to learn the theory behind the algorithms, and if you go to any mathematical textbook or any research paper, there is a lot of mathematics involved, right? And if you go without any kind of knowledge whatsoever, it will feel like Chinese. क्या चल रहा है ये कौन से symbols है कुछ समझेगा नहीं. So you need to, if you are coming from 11th 12th background, if you did mathematics religiously, then it's a piece of cake to start. But if someone is for example say from diploma background who does not have a good mathematics understanding as compared to 11th and 12th students, I'd recommend to go through textbooks or videos of calculus and differential calculus and linear algebra, matrices and all those things to start. Spend majority of your time things like writing code or doing something which will actually help you in the future, right? Just consuming content isn't going to help. It isn't a spectator sport, right? You have to contribute also, and not just contribute, but you have to do things in order to learn them. That's what I will say to anyone. Like I wish that I understood it as very early, because earlier I used to just read things, just reading things. ये कैसा काम करता है, वो कैसा काम करता है. But
Yeah,
until I touched the keyboard and I started writing, until I touched the keyboard and started typing in the code, then at that moment I realized कि actually चीजें काम कैसे करती है. And after doing this only you'll get that intuition, you'll develop that intuition कि क्या करना है, what to do, कि ये error आ रहा है तो क्या करना है, ये this accuracy is low, how should I improve it. So you will learn that by implementing things. That's what I think,
Okay,
and I
so
hope I did that a lot more.
yeah, yes,
Yeah, I hope like मैंने पहले से ये कर मतलब I realized it very late. मतलब if I started doing like writing code from the very beginning, I would have reached I would have been twice better at it than I am right now. So starting doing things early and knowing basic programming. You don't need to be a web developer. You don't need to be a Android developer. You need to know basic programming. कोई problem आता है, there are online forums which will solve any of your problems. And one more skill that I know that I would definitely recommend is to how to Google your doubts, because
yes.
in programming, in programming you can solve any doubts. Every problem has a solution online. मतलब मेरे जैसा डाउट किसी को तो भी आया है दुनिया में और वो सॉल्व हो
उसने
चुका
भी
है.
वही सेम गलती की है और उसका सॉल्यूशन है इंटरनेट पे, स्टैक
हाँ,
ओवरफ्लो पे.
you just need to know how to Google, and that also comes by practice. You need to Stack Overflow is one website, GitHub Issues is another website. So these websites are amazing. There are a good community, or people are willing to help you. अगर नहीं मिला तो you should be able to ask this question. आज नहीं तो 2 महीने बाद वो प्रॉब्लम सॉल्व हो जाएगा, because this developer community is really very amazing. People are willing to solve your problems, and you don't need a mentor as such, क्योंकि इंटरनेट पर सब मिल जाता है at the end of the day. So you need to know how to Google your doubts. That is one very underrated skill, that will not only help in programming, that will help you in any scenario, in any skill that you're learning. Even if you're learning Photoshop, even if you're learning anything software related, that kind of thing really helps a lot.
How to Google your doubts.
Yes.
ऐसे ना.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
let's talk about my experience as a beginner and you as a mentor, and that I'm talking to you being a mentor. Okay. So let's say you told me that you should know Python. So what I did was this YouTube is an open source, and there's this guy named Navin Reddy. He runs a
Mhm,
website. He runs a channel named Telesco, and
mhm,
we all of us know that website, Telesco. So what I
mhm,
did
mhm,
was I just went through those videos, and he has explained a lot of things, and I learned a bit about data structures and loops, while loops, for loops, if, elif, everything. So after doing that, I was a bit saturated, and I thought this is all the programming that I want to know, and this is the end. And then he was about to start with classes and objects, and I thought, okay, that's it, I'll stop here. Then what happened? I went on to Coursera, and I completed the specialization named
Python.
Python for everybody. And Python for
mhm,
everybody, I was not quite satisfied with the course, because in the beginning it taught about data structures and loops and everything, and it was quite basic. And then he started about talking about uh, parsing data, XML, and data
mhm,
visualization. And he told us what are APIs and how do you get those geo maps and everything.
mhm,
And the codes were
mhm.
very intimidating, and the codes were long.
Yeah, so before that, I would like to say is when you enroll for any course, you should know why you are enrolling. I think that is important. If you are going for a Python for everybody course, you should know like what you want to do with Python. Then you can select a direction and go along with it. Like if you want to be a web developer, then like Dwarkesh will tell you that there are like some technologies that you need to improve, or you need to there are some functionalities of Python that you need to know basically in order to be a web developer. Yeah. So if you want to go for data science, you need another skill set, right? So Python is a very big universe. You have to understand that, and just knowing everything is very very counterproductive. You need
Yes.
to know why you're learning Python, and you need to like go for in a direction that that align with your interests basically, right? So if you want to go beyond data mining, right, so your classes and objects are not very helpful. Your object oriented programming is not very helpful in that scenario. You need to know if you are like if you are curious about data mining, you need to learn about packages, various Python packages, right? And you need to know a lot about data cleaning, data. Then you need to know a lot about data parsing in that scenario. Like you should be able to crawl through a website and collect their data, and you should be able to like convert it
Beautiful.
into a CSV file, and then you should be able to clean that data. Then you should be able to normalize that data, then you should be able to reduce the dimensionality. You need to make it simpler. Then you should be able to visualize that data. You should be able to perform exploratory data analysis on that data, EDA as it is known. So all these things are along the direction of data mining. So first you need to decide what you want to do. Now that I know basics of Python, what do I want to do? Should I like go for even IoT applications are present in Python. So there are different packages for IoT and AR, or even game development has applications in Python, right? So you need to select a stream, or like you need to narrow down on, need to create a niche in which you want to pursue. Otherwise it's aimless journey. You don't know what you just learn, and you don't know where to apply, right? So you need to know like what should I do with this knowledge, and then start creating small things, and from small things create big things by like creating small models. Yeah, completely agree with Dwarkesh. Yeah, लोग नुसते मतलब resume fill out कर रहे हैं, like you are
Yes.
not gaining skills, you're just filling out a resume. That will not help at all. What is the
In
use
the
when
long
you're
term, at
learning? Exactly. When you are learning 10 languages, you just learn one and you learn everything about that. Or even within that language, there are very ways that we can go about. You just learn about one and you will get the job. Instead of learning 10 languages, no one asks for how many languages you know. They ask what you know, what concepts you know, like what can you build. Those kind of things they like ask in the interviews basically. And it's a very wrong idea that usually people from non-computer science background have, that I need to learn a lot of programming languages. I need to know Python, I need to know HTML, CSS, Java, JavaScript, um, PHP, everything, those sort of things. But that is a very big misconception. You just need to find your interest and do like things in that, and regardless of the language. Language doesn't matter. It is just a tool that you are using in order to build a project. Similarly, if you are building a robot, you don't fight about, you don't like argue ki I should use this screwdriver or this screwdriver. You build a robot, and that is important.
तभी तुमको पता चलता है कि स्क्रू ड्राइवर ये इसके लिए ऐसा लगेगा, इधर एक स्क्रू बिठा दो, यूटिलिटी से चालू करो
It's a
नीड से
very
कि मतलब ये बनाना है.
to understand, like to explain it in layman's terms, that's what a programming language does. It provides a framework, it provides a tool for you to build something meaningful. That's it. And like there is no uh, there is no use other than that for a programming language. It is just a technological tool that you use. That's it.
We would like to conclude the podcast by asking you the very last question. That is, what is your end goal and where is it that you want to reach?
To be honest, I still don't know the clear answer to that question right now, because every day the situation is changing. Every day, like if something new is happening and something very unpredictable is happening, like especially now, right now, in these days when the pandemic is at its full power today. And I basically had some like goals and aims, and that like I know that they won't happen now because of the pandemic, because this is very unpredictable situation, and I expect that such unpredictable situation might keep occurring in the future. So what one thing that I'll stick to is keep on learning new things, keep on improving myself, keep on developing skills, that not just for helping in my career, but just as a mode of satisfaction that the learning these things will provide me. And yeah, and learning from guys like you. And
You can always
and
be modest, right?
basically and yeah, and basically just keep on improving myself, not just in technical sense, but also uh, like personally I need to grow, and there are some things that I need to like improve in myself. There are some soft skills that I need to improve upon. There are I need to know a lot about uh, world beyond what I have studied up till now. So I need to be so I what I see myself is learning, and also implementing this such that I live a very decent life, and like satisfied with, and learning things in such a way that I get opportunities which will give me satisfaction at the end of the day, right? Because I'm like, to be very honest, that money is not a very very big factor for me right now as such. So right now I'm looking for opportunities that will give me satisfaction, or that will give me a sense of fulfillment right at the end of the day. So yeah, that's where I see myself. Maybe the goal will not maybe, definitely the goal will change after a few years, because things are unpredictable, and this pandemic basically has shown us that you cannot just stick to one goal throughout the years. Something will happen that will disrupt all your plans, and you need to adapt. Basically at the end of the day, you need to adapt. You need to overcome all these difficulties, and you need to set some new goals according to the situation. You cannot always get what you want. Sometimes you lose what you deserve, sometimes you win what you don't deserve. That's the reality of the life, and we need to grow, and we need to move ahead at least one step through every day, and achieve try and achieve good things. Yeah, that's what I think.
That was a great
So,
conclusion. This podcast has turned to be not only a technical podcast, but also a podcast that enlightened us in other ways of life. And it was great talking to you, Atharva. And we hope that when this podcast reaches other students of our age and some many other passionate technology enthusiasts, it will definitely encourage and motivate others to do so.